Jose Reyes, Mets legend.
You sure about that?
Played the third most games in team history. What do you remember about his game? Let me know in the comments. For me, he will forever be the switch-hitting speedster with sneaky pop who had the ability to take a game over at any moment. He was a problem for pitchers. But did you realize that he wasn't just a problem? He might have been the most dynamic player of the 2000s and absolutely is a Mets legend, yet nobody talks about him anymore. He is the Mets' all-time leader in leadoff home runs, triples, and steals. He's also still the only Met to lead the National League in steals, and he did it 3 times. He ranks second in Mets history in hits, doubles, total bases, runs scored, runs created, extra base hits, at-bats, and times on base. I mentioned the games played, but he also ranks 3rd in Mets history in offensive B-WAR, singles, and plate appearances. He also is the franchise leader in multi-hit games, 3-hit games, and 4-hit games. Again, Mets legend. He even hit the last in-the-park home run by a Met at Shea Stadium. And his Professor Reyes character might be the best Jumbotron bit in baseball history. Did you know that he is one of only 26 players in MLB history to hit at least 125 triples and at least 125 dingers? Or that he is the youngest player to hit home runs from both sides of the plate in the same game? Or that he is the only player in MLB history to have a 5-hit game, 3 home run game, and a game where he hit for the cycle in the same season? Or that he is the only player since 1884 to give up 2 home runs one day, then hit 2 home runs the next day? Okay, that last one might not be something to brag about. But from 2005 to 2011, as you'll soon see, there was not a more dynamic player in all of baseball.
Let's don't get too crazy.
Jose Reyes was a problem. He also doesn't get the credit he deserves. How many Hall of Fame votes do you think Reyes received in 2024? 0. Jimmy Rollins, Phillies legend, also a switch-hitting shortstop, who also possessed that beautiful combo of speed and power from the 2000s, also on the 2024 Hall of Fame ballot. Received 14.8% of the vote, with some thinking he's on track to be inducted at some point. Was Rollins really that much better than Reyes?
Saddle up.
Baseball fans, it's time to look back at the legend that is Jose Reyes.
When I grow up, my favorite player is Jose Reyes.
Join me as we revisit his career, focusing on his dynamic 2005 to 2011 run that cemented his Mets legacy. Then I explain why Rollins is on track for the Hall, while Reyes received 0 votes by knocking on the numbers, listening to what they say. We then conclude things by showing how even his darkest moment, him being a literal problem, was actually a blessing in disguise for one team in particular. All because Jose Reyes was too dynamic. He was a problem, and I don't want us to forget it. Welcome to Good Vibes Baseball. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. I do appreciate you either way. Now let's get into some good vibes, shall we? The year is 2005. The first YouTube video is uploaded. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter is launched. And the New York Mets are, well, the New York Mets.
What's that supposed to mean?
Coming off back-to-back 90-loss seasons, no playoffs since 2000, and the failed experiment of moving your exciting young shortstop to second base in 2004, you could understand if expectations were low in Queens. Well, little would anyone know that the 2005 season would actually be the first in a run of 7 straight seasons where the Mets would possess the most dynamic player in baseball. Remember that failed experiment with the shortstop position in 2004? Well, that was Jose Reyes. In 2003, he was thrust into the starting shortstop role and actually did quite well. He got his first hit as a 19-year-old in his first major league at-bat and hit his first career home run 5 days later, which was a grand slam. His rookie year was cut short due to an ankle injury, but his .307 average and 13 steals earned him an 8th place finish in the Rookie of the Year voting. So why the heck would the Mets proceed to move him off of shortstop in 2004? Well, Reyes' defense was sorta sus anyways, but the major factor? Kazuo Matsui. The Mets signed the Japanese shortstop prior to the 2004 season, with Matsui's one condition being that he played short. In true Mets fashion, the experiment was not a success. Matsui struggled with the bat, posting an OPS plus of 89, and wasn't much better defensively, with 23 errors and -7 total defensive runs saved. Reyes struggled with injuries that year, and in the 53 games he did play, he posted an OPS plus of just 66.
Okay, that was horrible.
But instead of letting this derail his career, Reyes rebounded fantastically. And this takes us to his incredible run from 2005 to 2011, when he became the most dynamic player in all of baseball. In those 7 seasons, Reyes put on an incredible display of speed, power, and simply electricity. He led the league in triples with 93 and led the league in steals with 338. He also flashed some power during that time, posting a slugging percentage of .445, which was actually higher than Bobby Abreu, Miguel Tejada, or Derek Jeter's. He hit more doubles in that time, 194, than Hideki Matsui or Travis Hafner. Sure, that OPS plus of 109 means he wasn't the most dominant hitter from this period, but he was the most dynamic. And the numbers show that. His B-WAR is impacted by his poor defense though, which we'll come back to in just a little bit. But again, with the bat, Jose was can't miss television. The accolades also show this. He was a 4-time All-Star, all of them during this time. He received MVP votes in 5 of those 7 seasons, and won the 2006 Silver Slugger. There was even a 2-week stretch in 2006 that Reyes hit .561 with 32 hits on his way to 2 consecutive Player of the Week awards. He also won the 2011 batting title. Professor Reyes says, "Tell me someone who was more dynamic during this time." And if traditional accolades aren't enough for you, Jose Reyes was so dynamic that he supplanted Derek Jeter as the cover athlete of the MLB 2K series when he was chosen for the cover in 2008. Jeter donned it the previous 3 seasons. You could argue that by 2008, he was the most popular shortstop in
New York City.
Unfortunately, we know how the rest of this story shakes out for Reyes and the Mets. They only make the postseason once, and he ends up signing with division rival Miami after the 2011 season, never to recapture that title as the most dynamic player in baseball. Injuries and a domestic violence arrest absolutely derailed his career. Those 0 Hall of Fame votes make sense when you look at just the bad. But looking back on everything, his peak combined with a few bright spots late in his career, the numbers actually stack up quite nicely to one other shortstop who rivaled Reyes in the Mets during this same period. Was Jose Reyes actually better than Jimmy Rollins? Jose Reyes was the most dynamic player in baseball from 2005 to 2011, unless you are a Phillies fan. Jimmy Rollins is a certified Phillies legend. He was an indispensable piece to that 2008 World Series winning team and won the 2007 NL MVP. Some even think he's going to make it to Cooperstown down the line, with his voting share increasing the past 3 seasons. Remind me how Jose Reyes did again? Oh yeah, 0 votes and is off the ballot after 1 season. So was Rollins really that much better?
You trying to goad me, Peralta?
No. Rollins and Reyes were actually very similar players, except for 3 major things: longevity, defense, and reputation. But statistically, very similar. Rollins played 15 years with the Phillies alone. He played in almost 400 more games than Reyes. He had 317 more hits and 86 more home runs. But Reyes has the edge in steals, batting average, OBP, slug, OPS, and OPS+. If Reyes plays in as many games as Rollins, those hit and home run numbers get even closer too. Reyes was an all-star more times and won that 2011 batting title, but Rollins did win a World Series and MVP to go with his one Silver Slugger. Another big difference? Their respective defensive skills. This is where the two are not similar. Rollins was a 4-time Gold Glove winner who also has the defensive metrics to support those. Rollins put up 43 defensive runs saved in his career. Reyes put up a negative 71. This is why Reyes' B-WAR is also so low considering his offensive numbers. Despite Reyes having a higher offensive B-WAR of 45.1 compared to Rollins' 43.7, Rollins accumulated over 10 wins more than Reyes in their careers. If Reyes could only have played a little bit better defense, maybe we are talking about him as the one on track for the Hall. Reputation absolutely plays a role in this though. Rollins is remembered as an integral part of some of the better memories in Phillies history. He never had a run-in with the law and was the best possible teammate. Jose Reyes was a superstar in New York. Professor Reyes is something that more players should absolutely do. But because he followed the money to Miami, he never got the shot at 15 years with the same team, and as you'll soon see, isn't remembered in the fondest of lights by one fan base in particular. So, was Jose Reyes better than Jimmy Rollins? No.
Jose Reyes beat his wife! That's the difference! That's the answer!
But that doesn't mean I wouldn't take peak Jose Reyes over peak Jimmy Rollins. But remember that run-in with the law earlier? Well, that definitely doesn't help. I'd even argue it killed his career. But even that actually impacted the game of baseball in a very positive way for one team. The year is now 2015. Jose Reyes is now a member of the Toronto Blue Jays and fighting for a playoff spot as the trade deadline approaches. The Colorado Rockies are in the midst of another rough season and facing a tough choice. Trade or keep franchise legend Troy Tulowitzki. Well, the Blue Jays were happy to take on Tulo for their playoff push. Unfortunately for Reyes, he was the one headed the other way.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's right, folks. Jose Reyes was the main piece the Rockies received for Troy Tulowitzki. At the time, the deal didn't seem that bad. Reyes was pissed that he was leaving a playoff contender for a basement dweller. I don't blame him. But on the field, he wasn't awful. He still possessed that lethal speed and hit .259 with 3 bombs and 8 steals for the Rocks. But since the Rockies are not allowed to have nice things, Reyes would then go on to get arrested for a domestic incident in Hawaii the following offseason. The case was eventually dismissed, but Reyes was suspended by MLB for the first 51 games of the 2016 season. Reyes became a literal problem. The Rockies released Reyes shortly after his suspension was up, and that was that. His time with the Rockies was over, with the Rockies footing the bill once again. Reyes even left the Rockies out of the list of teams he thanked when he retired.
What kind of shit is that?
But this isn't another tragedy in Rockies history. No. This is actually a positive. With Reyes suspended to start the 2016 season, the Rockies needed someone to fill in at short. Well, Trevor Story would go on to tear the cover off the ball that spring and proceed to win the job and go on to become the second best shortstop in Rockies team history. Without Reyes making the worst decision of his life, Story doesn't get the shot to win that job. Not only that, but do you remember opening day in 2016? Trevor Story became the first player in baseball history to hit 2 home runs while making their debut on opening day, when he hit 2 nukes off Zach Greinke. This doesn't happen without Jose Reyes. So what's the moral of this story?
You tell me.
Is Jose Reyes a Hall of Famer? No, but he absolutely was a problem for pitchers throughout his career and was the most dynamic player from 2005 to 2011. We were lucky to witness it. Was he better than Jimmy Rollins? Not with the glove, but the numbers do say they were a lot more similar than people give Reyes credit for. Do Rockies fans have every right to hate him? Absolutely. He was supposed to replace Tulo, but ended up getting suspended and didn't even thank the team in his retirement post at the end of his career. But even his biggest mistake led to Trevor Story getting a shot and the Rockies finding their shortstop of the future. Jose Reyes was special. You never knew what was going to happen when he stepped into the box. Maybe it's a bunt single. Maybe it's a nuke. Maybe he laces the ball down the line and glides into third without a throw for a stand-up triple. Maybe he strikes out. He even did that dynamically. His career had the potential to be Hall of Fame worthy, if not for injuries and one terrible mistake. Is that really enough for us to forget the legend that is Jose Reyes? That's gonna do it for today, baseball fans. Thanks so much for watching. Who are you taking, Jose Reyes or Jimmy Rollins? Let me know in the comments. Please consider subscribing if you haven't, and please smash that like button if you enjoyed yourself. I know I did. Until next time, baseball fans, cheers!